Okay, so the class is now being recorded, and this is me again, Dr. Sameh Abdul Jalil. This is A230A, and this is our third class this semester, the spring semester, of course. So what is it that we're doing today? We're doing the rest of Othello. We're moving to chapter 2. Of course, Othello is divided into acts, but I'm talking about the second resource that we're using. It's the textbook that we're using, and it corresponds to, the play from Act 2 until the end. So let me share the slides, and we are on our way. And this is the chapter that we're doing. So Othello, chapter 2. And the title of chapter 2 is Honesty and Difference, Men and Women. Obviously, this is what the whole hassle is about this time around. How much do we know about Othello now? We know that it is, late 16th, early 17th century piece of work. It's a tragedy, and it's a Shakespearean tragedy with whatever that conjures up at the back of our minds: tragic heroes, catharsis, pity and fear, tragic flows, and tragic downfall at the end. Othello is also written against the backdrop of the Renaissance, and also against the backdrop of the Elizabethan age, where we now have a shift of emphasis. We're moving from religion to, whatever happens in society. The focus is now more on progress and development and advancement, geographical discoveries, and everything in between. We now know who Othello is, the character, the one who gives his name to the play. We know that he is a Moor, and we know that a Moor is a name given to people who used to come from North Africa. And we know that he is exceptional, that he is a leader. Venetians like him very much because of his military achievements. We also get to know that somehow he fell in love with a Venetian girl, and obviously she's white, and they eventually got married. Obviously, this deed, or perhaps misdeed, is going to bring about issues and problems for him and for the entire play. So the whole world of the play will crumble and collapse, given the fact that what Othello and Desdemona did is not acceptable by any chance and by any means. Remember the idea of hierarchies, the fact that society is built on the idea of hierarchies. You have um, cosmic hierarchies where God is on top and man in the middle, and perhaps dust and stone at the bottom. You have, in terms of states, you have the king or the queen on top. You have perhaps the middle class in the middle, and you have lower classes at the end. You also have hierarchies of color and race, where Caucasians and white people are on top. You have perhaps, other shades of color like yellow is in the middle, and you have black, people with black skin at the bottom. So these are established hierarchies that people shouldn't challenge or go against or transgress against. What happens if you challenge them? You don't get away with it. You get penalized and punished, and this is what we have seen with Othello and what happened to Othello and Desdemona. And perhaps in one of our interpretations, we're going to say that the play Othello is a cautionary tale. It tells the audience to never think of doing what Othello and Desdemona did. If they are white and they want to get married and fall in love, they have to fall in love with people from within the ranks. If they are black and they want to fall in love and get married, they have to fall in love and get married to people from within the ranks. This seems to be the message, and this seems to be the cautionary tale that we're talking about. So where are we now? When we met last time, it was all Act 1 and the different scenes of Act 1. We started off with Iago and Rodrigo, and then Parapancio joins, or they join Parapancio, and it was all about Othello. They are tied to him in one way or another. Iago is tied to Othello because he works under his supervision in the army. Rodrigo is tied to Othello because they are both rivals in the love of Desdemona. Parapancio is tied to Othello because Othello got married to the daughter of Parapancio, Desdemona. Again, typical of tragedies, we don't see the tragic hero or the protagonist right from the very start. He is kept from us for a couple of scenes, and until he appears, we know a lot about him from what the other characters say about him, with the hints that they give, the revelations that they share about themselves and about him. And then came a time when we saw Othello. I think it was in scene 2 or scene 3 in Act 1. And obviously we were waiting for him very eagerly because our suspense and excitement got built up already. So how do we see him? We see him very gigantic. We see him very, larger than life, very poetic, very musical, and he started to defend himself against the accusations of people like Parapancio, typical of Venetians. He considered him a magician, and he believed that he somehow practiced magic on Parapancio's daughter, and that's why she got married to him. He cannot find it in his heart to admit that love can exist between a white girl and a black man. And again, he also believes that his daughter is a maiden never bold, and she has her little world, and she cannot have taken this decision on her own. Something has to have been done to her. And obviously, there is a reference to magic because of where Othello hails from Africa, and they normally associated Africa with wizardry and magic. Um, so this is basically what we are seeing or what we have seen so far. Now in Act 2, we have a change of place, a change of setting. We're moving from from Venice to Cyprus. Venice is obviously the seat of civilization. It's a commercial empire. It has a parliament, it has a senate, it has elected members of parliament. People are nice, civil, and civilized. because we are in for whatever is unfortunate and whatever is tragic, the scene has to shift. We need to go to some place else that can be suitable for those changes. And Cyprus happens to be this scene or this place. So we're moving from, um, you know, civilization in Venice to Cyprus, where obviously it's the complete opposite. Cyprus is a sea uh, island. It's an island that has a sea, and typical of places where you have a sea, for all the beauty of the sea and its beaches, you still have this element of unpredictability. You can never tell what the weather will be like in a sea city. Today it's calm and beautiful. Tomorrow it's stormy and sometimes destructive. So this element of unpredictability uh, um, is associated with where they all headed. And where they are all headed is Cyprus. And you would ask why would they shift from Venice to Cyprus, and they went to Cyprus because the Turks were wanted to invade Venice. So they thought of not waiting for the Venetian for the Turks until they come inland. They wanted to go to one of their outposts, which is Cyprus, and they face the Turks head on. So who will go? Of course, Othello, because he is the military leader and strategist. His wife and people, his soldiers, and among them would be Cassio and also uh, Iago and his wife and everybody else. When they arrive safely, we find out that a truce, TRUCE, or a ceasefire, was reached between the Turks and the Venetians, and now everyone is going to stay in Cyprus for a while until they go all the way back uh, to Venice, and and lots of bad things will happen in Cyprus, which is obviously typical of what we say about the sea port, unpredictability. You have a storm that starts with them, and the storm is physical, but it is also a storm within their souls and their hearts and minds. So all is alarm and confusion as the engagement with the Turkish fleet is awaited. So they went and they were under the impression that there is going to be this battle between the Venetians and the Turks. When they arrived, they got to know that a ceasefire was reached. So who went? It's Othello, Desdemona, and Iago, and pretty much everyone else. So Iago is, he never stops, planning and everything. And this time around, he's going to also involve Rodrigo in another plot, but this time around, it's about discrediting Cassio. Um, Iago comes to know that Cassio and Desdemona appreciate each other. They are perhaps friends. She respects him and he respects her back. He knows that she is the wife of his leader and commander, and he behaves accordingly. Somehow Iago is going to think of the impossible, which is kind of uh, impressing on everybody that there is an affair between Desdemona and Cassio. Again, Act One starts with a storm, which is typical of islands like Cyprus. And normally, when you have a storm, this is some kind of premonition, a warning. It's a sign that we are in for something bad, a crisis of a sort. And it points to the instability of the world the characters now inhabit. Um, Again, and this is no strange because we're talking about Cyprus, where, like I said, we have the sea, and the sea was both the source of power and of danger. And right from the very start, we're going to engage in talk about Iago's views of love, and we're going to always contrast them with those of Othello. Um, we have started that in Act One, but we're adding more, and this time from Othello's angle. Othello, as it stands now, he is happily, obviously, in love with, he's happily married to Desdemona. And when he was asked about how much he loves Desdemona, he says, if it were now to die, it were now to be most happy. He's saying that I am happily married to Desdemona, if I die now, I would be the happiest ever. Um, Again, let's wait and see, because he's going to change, obviously. Again, what we are going to notice, and this is perhaps what we are noticing from Act One, is that Othello is absent from the stage for long stretches of time, and this is, by the way, is not in his favor, because when he is absent, Iago is in motion, scheming and everything, again, assuming a bigger place in the play. Critics are going to talk about just that in a minute. Again, we're going to always set Iago's cynical views of human relations against those of course, Othello. What do we know about the other characters? We now see Cassio. Cassio is just such a gentleman, but he has, kind of weaknesses. He is handsome and everything, and he is libertine. Libertine means that he has affairs with women, and this is, again, what Iago is going to play on. Again, in scene two of Act Two, we're not going to see much of Othello, and that would trigger this idea of imbalance. So we're going to start to feel that that the balance is shifting towards Iago, and this is obviously bad news, and this is very dangerous because that play is about Othello rather than Iago. So the balance is shifting towards Iago. Of course, there are references to Othello in his absence, but again, Iago is talking, Iago is occupying center stage, and he is exploiting the weaknesses of whoever comes his way. Again, what does he know? What does Iago know as a weakness in Cassius' character? He knows that he is given to drinking, and whenever he is drunk, he has those rages. So he's going to exploit and take advantage of one of those drunken rages, and he's going to obviously report that to Othello. Perhaps Othello is going to hear all about it, and is going to ask um, Iago about it, and he himself is going to be very upset. I'm talking about Othello, obviously. So again, we're talking about Iago's presence and Othello's absence and what this signifies, and I said that this means a lot. Um, Again, Iago is given more space than he should have. And it is clear that he is a professional actor. Professional actor, not in the sense that he is acting on the stage, and the fact that he pretends. He is a good pretender. And he himself says at one point that I am not what you think I am. I'm not what I am, remember? But we can almost feel his devious nature, the fact that he is controlling. Uh, um, and we are getting to also feel that Othello is becoming his own, Iago's victim. Um, Again, um, over time, our sympathies and admiration for Othello is going to perhaps shift. We still respect him, but those deep-seated feelings of love and loyalty for him is going to change. I'm talking about as leaders because as readers and audience members of the audience, because Iago is obviously appearing more. So many audiences find themselves enjoying Iago's energy and feel complicit in his plotting at this point. Again, this is very dangerous and this is very serious, that Iago somehow earns our admiration. And if he earns our admiration, it means that we're condoning what he is obviously doing. And obviously this is wrong. And it's all due to the fact that Othello is not active on the stage. There is much absence when it comes to Othello. Okay. And events are moving very quickly, and there is no room for a comic relief. Comic relief is this small interval between the acts where you have clowns and small characters, perhaps playing pranks on each other in order to relieve us of the tension that gets built as we move. We don't have that, and the play is headed very fast to its doomed eventualities. Um, Now there is, or there comes the time when we have those views about the character of Othello. Obviously, critics are polarized over the character of Othello. We have people who admire Othello and think that he is good, and those people are called the pro-Othello scholars. And you have people who are anti-Othello, those who believe that Othello is responsible for whatever happened to him and to Desdemona, and this is the anti-Othello camp. So on top of the list of those who are pro-Othello, we have A.C. Bradley, this famous British scholar. He wrote a very nice critical study called Shakespeare Tragedy in 1904. And according to him, Othello is open and passionate. He is a lover, the strength of whose passion inspired the love not only of Desdemona, but the audience. For him, the audience were swayed by his grandiloquence and pitied him when he fell, despite the murder of his wife. Okay, so this is how A.C. Bradley assesses the character of Othello. He believes that he is open, which is obviously a good quality, that he is passionate, and he is saying that uh, his strength and his loving nature didn't only prompt Desdemona to fall in love with him. Everybody was in love with him, to the extent that the audience pitied him when he fell, overlooking the fact that he murdered his life. And this is obviously an extreme view. You wouldn't love or admire a murderer, let alone a murderer of one's wife. But obviously, this is what A.C. Bradley thinks of Othello. Um, so, how does Bradley see the play? He believes that this is a tragedy, and it is the tragedy of the undoing of the noble Moor by the devilish cunning of Iago. He believes that it was all triggered, I mean, the whole tragedy and the whole destruction of the Othello family was all triggered and caused by Iago and his devilish schemes. Um, yeah, you may dispute that, you may agree with that, or let's see. So, as you can see, Bradley here views or looks at the tragedy as caused by external evil. And this external evil is the malice and the hatred of the demi-devil, and of course he means Iago. According to Bradley, this demi-devil that we call Iago turned a happy story of romantic love into a tragedy. Again, like I said, to each his own. People are entitled to their views. And then we have the anti-Othello critics and scholars, and they are two. One of them is T.S. Eliot, and the other is F.R. Leaves. So, what does T.S. Eliot believe about Othello? Uh, According to T.S. Eliot, Othello is responsible for his own downfall because he has this tendency to self-dramatize, especially in his final speeches. Self-dramatizing is all about doing things that put you in the spotlight. You want people to talk about you. Of course, you want them to praise you, to talk about you in very nice ways. Even if they run out of talking about you this way, they have nothing nice to talk about you, you put yourself in situations where they can pity you. So this is self-dramatization, and T.S. Eliot believes that Othello is all about that. Othello, the character, is given to this state of mind. He is self-dramatizing. Through his fiery speeches, he wants people to always talk about him, good and bad. And then we have another anti Othello scholar by the name of A.R. Leaves, and Leaves is going to kind of provide a rebuttal of what Bradley is saying. Bradley, of course, like we said, believes that Othello is a good person and he was brought down by circumstance. So F.R. Leaves is going to go against this, and he is going to argue against what Bradley is saying. According to F.R. Leaves, Bradley's views sentimentalize Shakespeare's tragedy and displaces its center. According to Leaves, we're talking too much and we're giving too much attention to the character of Iago and his diabolic or devilish intellect. Again, he is saying that we're now shifting or displacing its center. The center of the play is Othello, and we shouldn't make the mistake or fall into the trap of focusing too much on the agency of Iago, because that would take away from what the play is all about. I mean, the center of interest should be Othello rather than Iago. So according to Leaves, Othello is the chief personage in such a sense that the tragedy may fairly be said to be Othello's character in action. How about Iago? He believes that Iago is only subordinate. He is a mere ancillary. He says that we shouldn't augment the role of Iago. We shouldn't exaggerate it, because this way the whole play will fall. The whole play will not make any sense anymore, because the center is Othello rather than Iago. Um, Again, he also argues against what Wilson Knight, and Wilson Knight is another Othello or another pro-Othello scholar. Leaves is also arguing against what Othello is saying. Othello, what against what Wilson Knight is saying. Wilson Knight is, of course, famous for propagating and promoting this idea that Othello has music in what he says. That and this is normally referred to as Othello music. Um, he says, and this is obviously F.R. Leaves, yeah, if there is music in what he says in his speeches, in those fiery speeches, it's because this is a habit of self-approving and self-dramatizing, which is an element, a very important element in Othello's makeup. He is trying to say that this is part of Othello's nature. Uh, he um he engages in those fiery speeches, and he uses very grand language so that people can admire him, because all what he does is to earn the admiration of people. Again, F.R. Leaves is saying the fact that Iago could convince Othello of the treachery or the alleged treachery of Desdemona uh, um, is an indication that he was ready for it. It's not as much about Iago's diabolic intellect as much it is about Othello's readiness to accept what is being said about Desdemona. Obviously, he didn't ask, he didn't check. So he's trying to also say that it's not Iago's power of convincing. No, it's again about Othello and the fact that he is ready to uh, uh, to accept whatever he says. And again, he is referring to the fact that Othello is his own enemy. He is saying that the essential traitor is within the gates. This is a very poignant and very poetic and very powerful statement. The essential traitor is within the gates. Who is the traitor here? He means that Othello is his own traitor, and it is within the gates means what within himself. How about Iago? Iago is a mere tool, is a mere mechanism necessary for precipitating tragedy in a dramatic action. Okay, so where do you stand? Let me ask you before we move to the temptation scene. So now that we've been talking about Othello and Iago for quite some time. What do you think? Do you think that Othello is responsible for his own downfall at the end, or do you think that Iago is responsible? It's not. Yeah, Rahaf, go ahead.
Partially,
Yeah,
he
can you
was too
elaborate?
reckless. Yes, he was too reckless, but he was provoked to reach that stage.
Yeah, that's nice. So if I know you and we are friends, we are good friends, and somebody comes in the middle and says, Rahaf, Dr. Sameh is not a good friend, would you cut ties with me right away, or you would perhaps ask me, put me to the test, or what are you going to do?
I will investigate it, of course. You're my
Right?
friend, so yeah, I
Yeah.
trust you. So that,
Okay. So you trust me, right?
yes,
So correspondingly, what do you think? Don't you think that Desdemona owed it to him to perhaps investigate more, given the fact that Desdemona is the one uh, who, defied and resisted the entire world for him. She went against her father. She went against her traditions, right? And obviously,
yes.
Cassio has always been there. Why didn't she choose him before Othello? Don't you think that he should? That this is incriminating. That shows us that Othello um, perhaps is responsible for that.
Yes, he should have trusted her more.
Yes.
But also, people can't really, he can't be that blamed that much because, again, Iago manipulated everyone. And he was
Yeah.
already insecure,
hmm
Othello, so
hmm
he knew that and he played on that, so that's why. But still, like, it's partially, it's not completely his
Yeah.
fault.
What do you
And
think if I tell you that Othello is a military leader? Othello is like 50 or perhaps more. Where is the wisdom of the age? Where is the wisdom? I mean, you're a military strategist. You defeat countries, right? Let's listen. Let's have other
yes,
people on board. Tahani, go ahead.
Yes, doctor. I think the natural for Othello because he a soldier, he is very rush for his decision. He don't think about his wife. Just his make his decision and and believe anything from his friend Iago.
First of all, Iago is not his friend. He is perhaps
Cassio.
some, yeah.
Yeah.
No, no, no. I'm talking about Iago.
Iago.
Yeah.
Yes.
What we're trying to perhaps clarify here is that we're not talking about an ordinary person. We're talking about somebody who should possess a big mind, who should have independent views and opinions, because this is what you expect of a big military leader, right? You don't expect
Yes.
him to listen to whoever comes to him and tell him, yeah, we're going to do this. And yeah, in this case, we need to perhaps reconsider how he used to fight and how, see. Um, so again, and if we keep saying that Iago is totally responsible for his downfall, obviously the play should be about Iago and not Othello. So we're displacing the center, like T.S. Eliot is, or Leaves is saying, right? Um, so we're moving to Act 3, Scene 3, and this is what we call the temptation scene. And when I say temptation, lots of ideas pops up, and it kind of evokes certain ideas about perhaps archetypal uh, um, scenes of temptation. So when I say temptation, does it ring any bells? Does it remind you of things in culture, in religion. Temptation. You know what temptation is, right?
Yes.
Okay. So when I first heard the word temptation, it conjures up or it conjured up ideas that are religious, can be biblical, can be Quranic, Judaic. If you're familiar with the idea of Adam and Eve and the fact that they were tempted and they have eaten from the wrong tree, and remember this biblical and this Quranic story, and so this is archetypal temptation. And this is obviously what we're going to see. Temptation is about convincing somebody of something, to get him or her to do something that he would otherwise wouldn't do. Um, so this is what temptation is in simple terms. So temptation here is obviously about Iago not convincing, because he didn't say things in a very straightforward way. He used echoing, and he made Othello believe that something is going on between Cassio and Desdemona. There is an affair of a sort. Um, so what is the technique that Othello is using? Here I would like you to read the extract. This is an extract, or this is perhaps an exchange between Othello and Iago, and let me set a context for it. The context here is that Othello and Iago in one corners of the stage, and they see Desdemona and Cassio standing together, and obviously Iago is going to play on that. Othello, and he's going to start to insinuate to Othello that something is going on between them. Insinuate means that you don't say things, you hint at things, but you're never direct. Okay, so I would like you to read the exchange and tell me what you think and what you feel. I'll give you a couple of minutes for that. Go ahead.
So can you repeat what you said? I didn't hear you.
What?
Did you say something before? I didn't hear you.
No, I said that we're simply reading the exchange between Othello and Iago.
Oh, okay.
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 So let me tell you that the word thou means you, and the word thy means your, and the word ought means not. So what do you think of this exchange? Do you think it's regular? It's natural?
No.
Why not?
Iago isn't putting any new input. It's not an exchange. It's more one-sided. He's just repeating.
Yes. Yeah, he's just repeating. So why would he repeat? I mean,
Maybe
is it natural that do we when somebody is talking to us, we keep repeating what he or she is saying?
no. I
No, it's
think
not natural.
We don't do that, right?
Yeah.
Unless what?
no.
He
He
want,
doesn't believe them.
Unless we have something in mind, right?
yes, he's
We're
want that
trying,
you
yeah,
believe him. Yes.
yeah,
He
yeah,
create the a doubt.
yeah, feelings of doubt and suspicion, and that's why this is the conclusion that he came to at the end. Look at what Othello said at the end. Think, my lord, by heaven thou echoest me. You are echoing me. You are repeating what I am saying. And I think if there is, it seems that you have some monster in your thoughts. Monster, you know what a monster is. You have a bad idea, you have something, and you're hiding it from me. You have something in your mind. So this is the conclusion. Okay. So obviously, um, um, Iago is not direct, which is obviously typical of people who are deceitful and who are very cunning. He doesn't say that there is a relationship because he cannot prove that, right? He is only hinting and insinuating. And Othello, because of his insecurities, he is going to believe him. So this is what we refer to as the temptation scene. So he is tempting Othello. He is indirectly convincing Othello that there is an affair between Cassio and Desdemona. So according to critic Marjorie Garber, one of the ways Iago manages or tempts Othello is by being an echo, turning the meaning of his words against themselves. So you may see them or feel that those repetitions are innocent at the beginning when he repeats words like indeed, honest, and think. And obviously, he pretends to avoid speaking the awful truth so as to protect his master from it, while at the same time ensuring it filters into Othello's mind. So it's very ironic and it's very sad at the same time. Again, what what is Iago is doing now is that he is playing on Othello's own insecurity or set of insecurities. So it's those insecurities that give Iago the opportunity to kind of proceed and work on them. Again, what are those insecurities that we've been talking so often about? Again, remember that Othello is an outsider. He is in the description of one of them, the extravagant and willing stranger in this community of Venetians. He is always portrayed as forever homeless, uprooted, and on the move, who seeks to be naturalized, but he is never is. So he's also ethnically different. Again, if you add to that the idea that this is a society that is soaked in racism, those people are racist. You need to also remember that he is double the age of Desdemona. You need to also know that he is also he works in an exclusively male world that we call the military, and he's not used to the company of women. So these are all insecurities that would predispose him to act the way he did, you know, not trusting his wife and falling an easy victim to the insinuations of Othello, of Iago. And when even when Iago uh, um, realizes that Othello is now kind of يعني believes what he insinuated about Desdemona, he started to even face him with things that would entrench this kind of insecure feeling by saying that Desdemona did deceive her father, marrying you, and when she seemed to shake and fear your looks, she loved them most. And then he starts to echo what Parvancio is saying, warning Othello at the end of Act 1, Scene 3, saying that if she kind of betrayed me, why not betraying you? Again, they would also entrench in him this feeling of lack of attractiveness. So again, Othello has those sets of insecurities about his age and race and lack of experience with women, and they would intensify as we proceed, and they would, you know, kind of escalate into homicidal sexual jealousy. Uh, Again, they are there. These are external forces that Iago is obviously playing on. Again, what is perhaps sad is that we are seeing another Iago in action. So over time, Othello is metamorphizing into another Iago. We're seeing Iago in his views of women, which are obviously animalistic and bad. We're seeing Othello starting to even use a language that we expect Iago to use, a very obscene and base kind of language. So, so the hero here, which means Othello, resembles Iago and the other male Venetians in his masculine pride and suspicious trust. And this, if anything, it shows us that obviously Othello is not only similar to Iago in his views of women. No, he is obviously reflecting the views of males at the time who don't or didn't trust women in general. Like I said, he started to dwindle in stature and he started to be another Iago. He declines to the level of Iago's pornographic imagination. He starts to even talk about his own wife in a very obscene and in a very base kind of language. And that would prompt us to ask Wilson Knight and the others, where is the Othello music that we have been talking about? So musicality and poeticity is about elevated language, is about a language that is free of obscenity, um, highly elevated, noble. So we're not seeing this anymore. What we're seeing is another Iago using the language that Iago is using, having the same pornographic imagination that Iago has, speaking very ill and in very sexual terms about his own wife. Can you imagine? So what we're seeing here is that we have a decaying set of values. We're seeing that Othello is crawling at Iago's feet. He's using his language, and he's obviously reflecting all Iago's obsessions, negative as they are, about women, about human nature, and everything in between. So as you can see, Othello here is getting metamorphosed or changed into, he is turning into another Iago. They both possess the same character when it comes to their opinion about women, about human nature and everything. That would automatically and naturally lead to scenes of violence and death. So what we're seeing here is the downslide into violence and death. And who is doing it, who is undergoing it? It's of course Othello, and it's all targeted towards Desdemona. Um, now, Othello is full of jealousy. He now believes that Othello and Desdemona are having an affair, and he is given to one of his fiery speeches, where after she leaves, or perhaps before a little before she left, he says, "Excellent wretch, perdition catch my soul, but I do love thee, and when I love thee not, chaos is come again." The word wretch here means poor. When you take pity on somebody and say, "Poor you," he is perhaps saying, "We are poor us," perhaps poor me, Othello, or poor us, me and you, Desdemona. So perdition is what we are confined to. Perdition means destruction and curse. Because of what? I do love thee. I love you so much. I obviously is talking to Desdemona, or about Desdemona. And when I love thee, when I stop loving you, when I don't love you anymore, what happens to the world? Chaos will come. Chaos is, everything will crumble and collapse. So obviously, using the word chaos is very big, very exaggerated, because we're talking about two people perhaps getting divorced or leaving each other. It's not as monumental and elemental and cosmic as he is painting it to be. And this is part of his hyperbolic nature, that he gives those fiery speeches, and he ties himself to the cosmos, to the sea and the mountains and the sky and everything in between. So this is hyperbolic, exaggerated. So this is a typically grand and hyperbolic utterance, exaggerated. And again, when you are in the mid of an exaggerated speech, sometimes things get ambiguous and unclear. So we don't really know what he means by "at the risk of perdition" or damnation. Does he mean that he is preferring earthly love to the divine? Does he mean "I'm damned if I don't love you"? So again, it's because of this state of mind that he is in, that he has this tendency to exaggerate, and again to kind of link himself to cosmic forces. Uh, Again, we keep asking this question: is the deception of Othello a matter of Iago's manipulation of his fears and insecurities, or is it Othello who is obviously responsible? So again, we keep going and coming to this question. Um, and then we have this scene of the handkerchief where Desdemona drops accidentally and unconsciously her handkerchief. And obviously, the handkerchief happened to be a gift from Othello, and it's obviously a legacy, something that he inherited from his mom or something. That's why it's very dear and near to his heart. And instead of being forward and say that it fell like anything else, she didn't for some reason. And of course, he's going to be half crazy about it. And this is going to lead him into further incoherence and rage. Um, so Othello is now reduced to doing the same thing. I mean, he is now, overhearing and eavesdropping on her. And these are things that you wouldn't expect a tragic hero to dwindle into to do. I mean, overhearing and eavesdropping, misinterpreting, and all those kinds of things, thinking the worst of his own wife. And then we're headed very fast towards the tragic end. And this scene, we call it the melancholy scene, is also very significant, and it's very anticipatory of what will happen next. The melancholy scene is a scene where we have Desdemona and Emilia, her maid, who happens to be Iago's wife. And obviously, Desdemona is preparing for bed, and Emilia is helping her. And they engage in conversation about what is happening. And Desdemona is telling a story to perhaps reflect what she feels and what she thinks. And the story is of Barbary, and Barbary is the maid servant of her mom. And the story is about Barbary, whose lover, male lover, becomes mad and he abandons her, and she dies at the end. But this is some kind of what we call proleptic. This is proleptic irony, some kind of foreshadowing, where the character anticipates what will happen to him and others next. So this is also dramatically a moment of rest before the headlong rush of Act 5. So again, this is the melancholy scene is an intimate moment between women, and obviously you would kind of contrast that with all the male-dominated scenes that we have been introduced to in the play between men, where women were not there. What kind of men did we see? We saw soldiers, courtiers, senators. And obviously they were active, and it's all about public life. Where here it's an intimate moment and it's a private one. So what happens is scene is in the scene is like I told you, that relates the story of Barbary, who is Desdemona's mother's maid. She was possibly black. She has a lover, and he proved mad and did forsake her. Who died singing, and she died singing a song of Willow. Obviously, the Willow song expresses female despair and longing and passive acceptance towards the lover. Let nobody blame him, his scorn I approve. And this is, you would feel confused. Is this what Barbary said before she died, or is it Desdemona herself? In either case, we have uh, um, a victim of love who is ready to accept whatever her male lover decides for her. Kill her, no problem. forgave her, no problem. So obviously, this is very strange to accept because this is the self same Desdemona that defied everything and everybody to to go and live with uh, Othello. She challenged her traditions. She challenged her father. She eloped. She went with Othello to another city or another country, which is Cyprus. So she was daring, she was self assertive, she was very strong and tough. And now she is ready to accept her fate. And this fate can be death and killing. See, again, this is very strange. What is even stranger is that we will have Emilia taking a role that is not hers. She's going to be very assertive, and she's going to talk about men and what they do to women and the injustices that have been meted out against women always and everywhere. So again, we keep asking this question: is this the Desdemona who could resist her father's pleas, marry in secret, and depart from her home city for a foreign shore? It's very strange. Um, again, what is strange, like I said, is that Emilia is going to say something in this scene. And this is perhaps her last speech, and it's very powerful. And it's a plea for recognition of women's equal humanity. And it challenges the anti woman sentiments expressed by so many of the main characters in the play. You wouldn't expect that from Emilia because obviously she's not very well educated. She's not from a high family like Desdemona. So we have this reversal of roles where obviously Emilia is taking the role of Desdemona and Desdemona is taking the role of Emilia. So Emilia's lengthy defense of the rights of wives opens up the whole question of how women were treated at the time and later. And I would like you to read the speech of Emilia. Okay, it's the one in green. If this is green, I'll give you a couple of minutes. Go ahead, read it. It starts with if wives do fall. Yeah, read it. What do you think? This is Emilia, by the way, who is a maid servant, who is not high class or who is not well educated. Are you surprised, like me, like everybody else, that this is what Emilia is saying? And we have heard Sister Mona saying almost nothing, succumbing to her fate, submitting and subdued. What does she say? She says, if wives do fall, say that they slack their duties. If wives do fall means they don't do what they are supposed to do according to their men. If they fail to discharge their duties properly, let husbands know. We're telling husbands that it's all because of the following. First of all, their husbands need to realize that women have sense like them, like men. They see and smell. They have affection. They have desires. They are frail and weak like men are. So we're telling them that they have to use us well, they have to treat us well, or we, because we're like them in everything, we're going to do what they do. We're going to falter and fail like they do. We're going to make the errors that they do. Why? In other words, she's saying, why would you blame us if we're exactly like you in our affections and desires and in our weaknesses? We do what you do. See? This is again a speech, and it's of course very powerful, and it's a powerful statement against the bad treatment of women uh, um, always and everywhere. Again, we have references in Act 5 to race and racial issues. And what we're having here is the fact that race is not confined or limited to individuals. It's not only Iago or Rodrigo or Parabancio who were uh, 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 racist. It's a way of life and it's style of life that all Europeans shared. Um, from big individuals, leaders like Queen Elizabeth, Queen what Elizabeth I, down to the smallest individual. Critic Anya Lumba argues that Europeans became increasingly aware of the power, wealth, and learning of other peoples, and this awareness often only intensified their expressions of European and Christian superiority. They felt that they are superior. So we had those racial attitudes in the play, and we're likely to feel that those attitudes were also the attitudes of people who went to see the play. Again, these are examples from history that show us racial intolerance. Like I said, Queen Elizabeth herself ordered the deportation of Negroes and Black Moors from England on the grounds that they were depriving her own Christian people from jobs. Sounds familiar. Again, this racial intolerance was the product of centuries of accumulated ideas about racial hierarchy. Again, racial hierarchy would turn into other kinds of hierarchies, class hierarchies, um, you know, gender hierarchies. Again, like I said, you're moving from racial hierarchy to patriarchal domination and gender inequality. And that would also turn into colonial domination. Again, we have writings from the period reflecting that. You have a critic by the name of Thomas Reimer. He wrote a book in 1693, and he is talking about the moral of the play, whether he's talking about Othello or other similar plays. He says that a play like Othello is a caution to all maidens of quality, girls of high classes who might consider running away with blackmoors without their parents. It's like I said, the play can be a cautionary tale where you're giving the word so that people can take a lesson. Again, he believes that it is also a warning to all good wives that they look well to their linen. He's obviously alluding to Desdemona dropping her handkerchief. And it's a lesson to husbands that before their jealousy be tragic, the proofs may be mathematical. They need to double check before they accuse their wives of treachery, and they take it to the next level and become very jealous, and they eventually kill them. Again, there is talk about um, tragedy and as given by authorities like Aristotle, tragic hero, hamartia, catharsis, the purgation of and the cleansing of excessive feelings of fear and pity. And then we move to Act 5, where obviously uh, everybody is stabbing everybody else. Remember part of what we said about the play, that it is also a revenge tragedy. So this is obviously scene 2 in Act 5, where obviously Desdemona is in her sleeping chamber, and Othello is going to walk into the room, and he's going to give us another incoherent speech that would take us some time to understand. Again, what we clearly understand is that he is resolved in his decision to kill her, and he believes that this is a cause that he has for all the love that he has for her, and he's comparing her skin to monumental alabaster. So it's a contradiction that we're seeing, which is that she must die. Again, this is very ambiguous, which is typical of his hyperbolic speeches. Another indication that he is also into self-approving and self-dramatizing. Again, people would fail to fully and safely explain what he means. So Othello already imagines his wife resembling one of those marble figures of diseased aristocrats one can see in churches, anticipating not just her death, but the time thereafter. So as you can see, his stature as a tragic hero is at issue here. Uh, Again, typical, the question pops up again. Who is Othello? Is he a deluded means deceived, self-important fool, or a noble hero brought down by circumstance? This is what I want you to keep asking yourself. Now that we have read the play, now that we have read what other people are saying about the play, I need you to take a stand, to tell me whether you think Othello is a deluded, self-important fool, or if you think that he is a noble hero brought down by circumstance. So who is Othello? You think he's an honorable murderer, which is very strange. How can be honorable if he is a murderer? Um, yeah, this is the end of it. These are the things that we have discussed together. So I'll I'll ask you for your initial assessment, and I'll also leave you to make a fuller assessment, and perhaps next time you come with it. So initially, what do you think? Do you think that Othello is a self-deluded, self-important, is a deluded, self-important fool, or you think that he's a noble man brought down by circumstance? What do you think initially? Yeah, Rahaf.
He's a bit of both because, as I said before, he's really insecure. He's really rash because of his insecurities, but still, I think he would have been normal if it wasn't for Iago's meddling.
Okay. So
So
if
the blame is
if
on
we
both of them.
so if everyone, if we have a murder, we need to look for an Iago for him, right? Every murder we meet, a murderer, I mean a
Motive,
killer. Every criminal we have in life, we should look for a hidden Iago, and right?
not necessarily. No, no, no,
Mm,
no. What I'm
mm,
saying is he already has his own issues, Othello. He
mm.
already is insecure. He's already rash. He's already not that trusting. But Iago knew this and
Listen,
he used it against him.
where does this leave the innocent Desdemona? Remember that a woman got killed in the process,
Yes,
right? That this
yes.
is very pitiful. This is very sad and tragic and unfortunate. Okay, let's think about it. I'll leave you to think about it. Um, and before I leave, I think we need to, your number is not that big, and the number of the other group is not that big either. Why don't we have one single WhatsApp group? So for easy access and easy communication and easier communication. What do you think?
I already
Do, do,
sent you the link, sir. You can do
uh,
whatever you
uh,
want.
okay, I don't know how to do it. What do I need to do to press the link, and that would be it, right?
Yes, and if you want someone else to join, just
Yeah,
you can forward it. It's fine.
yeah. I'll tell them, and yeah, yeah. Okay. طيب, on this note and with this item, we come to the end of this lovely class, and I'll see you next week, inshallah. Salam alaikum.
Thank you.
Work. Bye bye.